Hello, and welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is part 2 of a two-part series in which we discuss HR consulting tips for your business. This section will include how to motivate employees of all ages, as well as how to become an advocate for your employees. My name is Jake Hartline, and I was born and raised in Salem, Utah. I graduated from Western Governors University with a bachelor's degree in HR, and I currently have over 4 years of HR experience. But more than that, I am a husband and a father. I have 2 beautiful boys, one of who we had just a couple months ago, and I'm very proud to be a husband and a father. My love outside of work is also for reading, writing, football, and anything nerdy such as Star Wars and Marvel. We will start off by discussing the generations at work and how we can motivate our employees of all ages. Our world is changing. Each year, we experience a shift in the generations that are in the workforce. For the last 30 plus years, our primary workers have been those from the baby boomers generation. You may be a baby boomer yourself or know someone who is. However, as of 2023, baby boomers only make up 19% of our workforce and are dwindling each year. Currently, millennials are the majority of our workforce, followed by Generation X. But that isn't all. Generation Z is on the rise as these individuals are entering the workforce and starting their careers. As shown in this chart, Gen Zs are poised to take over the amount of baby boomers in the workforce by 2024. If the chart continues on a similar trajectory over the next 10 to 15 years, we should see Generation Z equal or above at least Generation X, if not millennials as well. Now that we have taken a look at that chart, my next question for you would be, how do we prepare for that change? We start by learning about the generations. Take the time to learn about the different generations and what has shaped them. One of the best ways to understand the generations are to simply ask them. Ask them what motivates you, or what gets you out of bed in the morning. These questions can help you to understand your staff and adhere to their needs. Find ways to implement them into your business model. Establish incentives, provide flexible hours, and things that you feel will help your employees flourish. Lastly, get their feedback on your business plan. How do you know if you are doing well as a business? Ask your employees for feedback. How do you think things are going around here? What would you do differently if you had the chance? Oftentimes, we think that asking our employees questions is a sign of weakness or inadequacy on our part, but that is far from the truth. By opening communication channels, you are able to allow your employees to bring ideas to the table and see the day-to-day struggles that you may not normally see as the owner and manager. These next few slides will go more in depth on the different generations and what typically motivates them. We'll start with baby boomers, who are largely classified as anyone born between 1946 through 1964. Let's dive into the work ethic and motivators for this generation. Baby boomers often get labeled as workaholics, defined by a strong work ethic. The typical day for a baby boomer generation consisted of clocking in, doing your work, and clocking out. It was not uncommon for baby boomers to average well over 40 hours a week. Bold personality traits and love for competition were other commonalities within this generation. This is not to say other generations aren't also workaholics or have a strong work ethic, but baby boomers define themselves often with these qualities. Approximately 70 million baby boomers retired by 2020. COVID had a large impact on this generation, as many experienced layoffs and early retirement opportunities from their companies. Regardless of reason, we saw the amount in the workforce decrease rapidly. It makes sense. Most of this generation is nearing retirement age anyways, but the sheer number of those who retired during this time is worth noting, as it quickly changed the demographic of our workforce and the characteristics therein. Understand that if you have employees of this generation, a lot of them are planning for their retirement and are focused and motivated on what they need to do to prepare. It is not easy as it once was to retire. We live in a tough economy, and the idea of retiring at 65 isn't feasible for a lot of people. This concept leads into the main motivators. Baby boomers on average are motivated by monetary rewards, retirement plans, and peer recognition. Does your company have a 401k, and if so, do you offer matches? Offering retirement assistant programs is going to be impactful for this generation, especially as they prepare for retirement. Recognition for their work is something that helps motivate baby boomers. They work hard, and they like others to know that they work hard. Recognize them for their efforts as well as create monetary rewards for doing so. They are motivated by these monetary rewards. If you have a system that is bonus driven, for example, every 5-star review that mentions your name, you get X amount of a bonus, could largely motivate this generation, all the while increasing your review counts. Other motivations would be promotions of the chance to lead. Baby boomers have been in the workforce for multiple decades and bring valuable knowledge and skills that younger generations might not have developed yet. Letting them utilize this knowledge and help train younger generations could be a great source of motivation. Especially if your employees have a long history within the hospitality industry, allowing them to showcase and share their knowledge will help motivate and build a high-performing team in the same breath. One final motivator I found in my studies, although this wasn't quite as important to them, was perhaps a perk like treats or amenities, such as a discount in your general store if you have one, or perhaps a pizza party or party of any kind could also go a long way to motivate your employees from this generation. Moving on, now we will discuss Generation X, who is largely classified as anyone born between 1965 and 1980. Let's dive into the work ethic and motivators for this generation. Generation X has been labeled as having an entrepreneurial spirit, perhaps from their innovative mindsets or their desire to work more independently. Regardless, Generation X owns nearly 46% of the small businesses, making up the majority of the generations within that market. You may know or you are a Generation X who owns a small business. Because of this statistic, it is important to note that the Generation X largely want to impact their business either through creating something new or by working independently. Micromanaging is less likely to work with Gen X's, who will show resistance to having someone look over their shoulder, where instead they expect that they are trusted to do the role and get paid accordingly. Work-life balance. Such a controversy. Jokes aside, the concept was more established with Generation X's than baby boomers, and it did get met with skepticism. The concept largely started from the Generation X's watching their parents' career and wanting something different. They value their time outside of work and expect to be at 40 hours a week if possible. It is important that they maintain this balance to reduce or avoid burning out. They generally reject the concept that people must sacrifice for success. They believe that they can accomplish separation and have success in both personal and work life without them bleeding over into each other. Work-life balance and flexible hours increase from each up-and-coming generation, but the initial concept was initiated from the Gen X's. As mentioned previously, one of the main motivators for Gen X's is to work independently. They want to figure things out for themselves without someone over their shoulder. Give them space to succeed and you will have a long-lasting employee. They also seek out mentor-protege relationships, looking to mentor Millennials and Gen Zs on the things that they have learned. They often seek this out more than baby boomers. Giving them the opportunity to lead could be beneficial for their motivators, as well as allow other employees to benefit from their knowledge. Just be cautious, not everyone is looking to be mentored. Millennials, largely classified as anyone born between 1981 and 1996. Let's dive into the work ethic and motivators for this generation. The Great Recession impacted millennials as much or more so than any other generation during that time. Millennials were just entering the workforce during this period, often becoming the first line of layoffs due to their inexperience. Nearly 10% of millennials experienced layoffs during 2009, higher than any other generation during this period. You might be wondering, why does this matter? The need for stability was created because of this, which we will cover in the next slide. Millennials crave stability within the workforce. They want to know that they will financially be taken care of by their employers without fear of losing their job. Those who do not feel secure will look elsewhere. It doesn't just have to be financially, it can be emotional as well. If your culture is toxic and they don't feel stable, they will look elsewhere instead of enduring. It is by far the main motivation for millennials. How can you ensure that stability? It is rather simple. Ensure that they are taken care of financially and that the culture is a welcoming culture. Don't threaten to fire employees. All it will do is create an unstable environment in which millennials won't feel safe in and could leave. They want to know that as long as they do their job well, that they can stay with your company forever. Even if that isn't likely, as most people average at least 3 to 4 jobs in their adult lives, that feeling of security is much more likely to lead to high-performing and sustaining relationships between you and your millennial employees. Other motivators for millennials include a work-life balance as well as flexibility within the hours and locations. It is hard to provide any sense of remote work within the hospitality industry, but what about differing shifts? Perhaps some flexibility with hours could be provided, especially if you have the staff to do so. Nonetheless, providing a proper separation as well as a sense of belonging will act as motivators for those in the millennial generation. A sense of belonging often ties in with a need for stability. Not only is it important to feel stable in your role, but you would also like to feel like you belong. Having company activities outside or during normal work hours can help to increase this inclusion. Additionally, team lunches are a great way to build team chemistry. You don't have to necessarily pay for your employees' lunches either. You could just simply ask them if they would like to go out for lunch sometime. This is considering that you have designated lunch breaks where your employees can leave the property. If you don't have those, please highly consider it. Having breaks where the employee can leave the premise can help to create that stronger work-life balance. Here at ResNexus, we offer 20-minute walk breaks to our employees who often go with coworkers, helping to increase that sense of belonging and team chemistry. Lastly, Generation Z, largely classified as anyone born between 1997 and 2012. Let's dive into the work ethic and motivators for this generation. Generation Z is the newest generation to enter the workforce, with the latter half still in grade school. Regardless, in the next 10 years, we should see the entire generation in the workforce, changing the demographic and characteristics of those who we are hiring. By the end of this year, it is predicted that they will take over the amount of baby boomers that are in the workforce. As they begin to enter the workforce, it is important as employers that we understand the demographics of those that we will soon be hiring for our roles, as they will present the most opportunities for hiring. Gen Z's focus on personal values over connecting with their profession. They are more focused on their personal identity and how to develop that than the work that they do. Because of this, having a company that aligns with their personal values is going to be essential to get the most out of your worker. Additionally, Gen Zs have been largely influenced by macro social movements and system issues, which shape what they stand for in the workplace. They are big on equality and diversity within the workplace. Having opportunities for growth and social impact will help motivate the average Gen Z. They want to see that what they are doing is bringing value to the company and the environment around them. Relationship building is important and should be a focus point with this generation. Other motivators for Gen Z include the need for empathy. They want to know that they are cared about and that their bosses understand what they are going through. Perhaps this is from just entering full-time employment or social media environments. Whatever it may be, it is a large motivator. Effective leadership offers empathy, so this should be relatively simple for those who know how to lead. Simply listen, acknowledge, and understand your employees. Mental health is an evolving concept, as more and more cases of anxiety and depression present themselves in the modern day. Gen Zs like to see care for their mental health and look for their employers to be aware and assist. Whether that is offering medical insurance so they can get coverage for their care, or having breaks in PTO opportunities to allow them to take breaks from work, focusing on their mental health is one way to maintain a motivated Gen Z employee. Finally, they still seek out progression, recognition, and a work-life balance, as do most of the generations. How do we close the gap between our employees from different generations? How do we create an effective team that meshes well, each bringing in their expertise, experience, and adaptability to their roles? Offering training sessions. Let your employees showcase their skills by leading fellow teammates on training for their roles. Do you have any employees who have been with you for a while? Let them lead a training session showing how they effectively and efficiently do their roles and how others can match. This could include customer service training, cooking training if you cook meals, and cleaning tips. Oftentimes, only the top managers direct and lead, but by allowing your employees to showcase what they are good at and train the others on it, it can create an open atmosphere that leads to a more effective team. Keeping an open mind will separate the good companies from the bad. The world will continue to change, and the next generation, Gen Alpha, will be even different. Just remember that no one equally fits in the same box. Just because you don't understand their motivators, or their motivators don't work for you personally, doesn't mean that it is universally incorrect. People work and are motivated by different things. It is important to be open-minded about those and work to the best of your ability to accommodate those differences. A happy employee is an effective employee. I understand that you can't completely revolve your company and life around your employees, but by showing compassion and an attempt to understand who they are will go a long way in building their motivators. Are you offering the right benefits for your employees? Insurances are a given, but do you have a retirement plan? Do your employees care about their retirement, or are they more focused on PTO? Have you tried asking them? These are questions that are important to consider. Benefits should affect the majority of your workers to be the most effective that they can be. A combination of benefits is best. Don't just focus on the insurances and retirement plans that you forget about the younger generations who will look for more of a work-life balance, meaning breaks, PTO, and potentially flexible hours. One size truly does not fit all, and you will never be able to make everyone happy. But by considering, and even asking, your employees what the most important benefits are to them will allow you to design your package accordingly. Going off the previous slide, the need for employee feedback is great. This will allow you to understand what your employees are looking for as well as what they are doing. Employees tend to quiet quit these days, meaning they do not discuss their problems with their bosses and instead just look to leave. Take it as you will, but that isn't changing. So, how do you prevent quiet quitting? Get feedback. If you want the most candid answers, keep that feedback anonymously. Don't collect names on a Google form or whatever sheet you have them fill out. Sometimes people keep it basic out of fear of retribution or retaliation. This can be avoided by either ensuring your employees that it is a safe space and no action will be taken, or by having it be anonymous. You will see how you are doing as a boss and if what you are doing is motivating or demotivating your staff based on the results of those surveys. Additionally, one-on-one interviews with your employees could produce similar results. Lastly, utilize your exit interviews for employees that are leaving. Now, I would not recommend having someone that you are firing fill these out, nor someone that quits on the spot. But for those who give notice or are in good standing as they leave, they should fill out and be a part of those exit interviews. Those interviews basically ask them about their experience, including the pros and cons of working for the company. Essentially, you learn why they are leaving. This will not only help you to understand what you should adjust for the future, but it will also help you to see if you could save the employee. Perhaps the issue isn't as drastic as it feels, and by simply interviewing with them, you can create a peace of mind that encourages them to stay instead of leave. Regardless, an exit interview is important. It is a quality control of how the business is doing. Now that we have discussed generations in the workforce and how to motivate them, I would like to transition to the final topic. The topic is how to become an advocate for your employees. What is an advocate? They are someone who supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. Often, they are someone who listens, inspires, shares feedback, and looks for growth opportunities for those around them. Advocates can be referred to as leaders or mentors because they look to assist and show support for those around them. Employers who invest in their employees' time and training could be seen as advocates. Advocates are someone who stands in someone's corner and supports them in what they do. They can see the bigger picture and what someone is capable of doing or accomplishing and strive to help them obtain their full potential. They are also a listener. They show empathy and understanding to the issues that people are going through. Instead of chastising or invalidating their emotions, advocates try to understand how the person is feeling and whether they can do anything to help them progress. Do we need advocates in our lives? According to an article by Forbes.com, nearly 76% of the interviewed respondents stated they view mentors as important or essential to their development. Think back on your job history. What separated the good jobs from the bad? What separated the good managers from the bad? We all have trials and tribulations in our lives. Often we feel secluded, feeling like no one understands what we are going through, or that they just don't care enough about what we are experiencing. This factually might not be true, but the feeling still remains. Having someone support us and show understanding for our trials creates an irreplaceable bond. I know several people who go through their workday solely because they have coworkers who they trust and who empathize with them. I personally have some close friends at work who help me tremendously by being a support for when I am struggling with the trials of my life. The age-old question, what does it cost? Our immediate thoughts go to, how much money do I have to spend to be an advocate for someone or to make them feel safe and heard? Well, let me tell you a secret. It doesn't have to cost you a dime. Let's dive into some good examples of free things that you can do to become an advocate for your employees. Weekly check-in meetings. Establishing a meeting one-on-one with your staff to check in on how they are doing, what challenges they face, and how you can assist them through those roadblocks. If you have too many employees to do a weekly meeting, bring in other leaders or managers to conduct those as well. Let them know that you are there for them and understand and write down their roadblocks. Check back on those roadblocks in other meetings with those employees to see how they are doing on those challenges. By spending time with your staff, it shows them that you care and want them to succeed. What can you do to help them with their challenges? Perhaps they need additional training or coaching on an aspect of their job, and by simply spending time with them, showing them how to do something, you could relieve some of their stress. Or perhaps they are confused on the direction of their role or what you are asking them to do. By offering some clarification and acknowledging their feeling of confusion, you can relieve their stressors while also making sure they are producing according to how you need them to. Understanding and knowing your employees' roadblocks can serve as a quality control measurement on how you and your leadership are doing. If your employees all experience some similar roadblocks, like confusion on expectations or direction, it could be a great feedback on how you can improve as a leader. Maybe you need to spend more time with your employees showcasing what your expectations are or what the measurements of success look like for that role. All in all, it can help you to know what you can do to improve while helping your employees to have a peace of mind and improve as well. Support groups are a group that meet to discuss their lives and what they are going through. Your employees are a good example of a support group. We all have trials and come from different backgrounds. What we do with those trials and backgrounds are what define us in the long haul. Having a support group allows for opportunities for you to understand some of the trials and backgrounds of your employees, all the while creating an atmosphere of trust and inclusivity. Feedback surveys. I have mentioned these before in my presentation, but in the context of building a sustaining relationship, surveys are vital and free. Having surveys sent out to all employees, even quarterly, can help establish a feedback system allowing you to know how they and how you are doing. See what you can improve on from those surveys versus what is just a petty response. If there are methods or processes that can be improved, it is in the best interest of your employees to do so. As you establish new policies or new responses to the feedback surveys, let your employees know. This establishes trust that you listen to feedback and take it seriously. People tend to want to feel like they have a voice or that their problems are listened to and resolved. Feedback surveys can accomplish this. Be transparent. Companies attract the type of people that reflect their culture. By having a transparent culture, you are more likely to attract honest and faithful employees. Transparency doesn't mean sharing confidential information, but it can mean sharing strategic direction of your company, ideas for future revenue sources, your 10-year plan, and more. Your employees are assets. They can offer advice and or make suggestions that you wouldn't have thought of on your own. The more open you are, the more feedback and innovation you will receive. Additionally, you can open up ideas to your staff and let them impact the company that they work so hard at. Make the company feel like our company, not just your company. It gives your employees an identity or purpose to belong to. Think of your favorite sports team. Oftentimes, when I'm talking about my favorite football team, the Denver Broncos, I say, we should do this or we should do that. I in no way am affiliated or work for the Broncos, but I feel like I belong or that they are part of me. Similarly, by having an open and honest communication channel with your employees, it can create a sense of belonging. It is our company, and together we are going to make this better. This sense of belonging will lead to more thoughtful decision-making, increased productivity, and overall satisfaction increase in the organization. Finally, have an open door policy. Be there for your employees by having time set aside for them to come in and have a conversation with you instead of having to schedule a time. By doing this, you can create an atmosphere that you are not above your employees, but are here to help. If you already have an open door policy, does your staff know? More times than not, the staff assumes they cannot bug you with the small things. Evaluate your schedule. Is there time you can put aside for your employees if you don't normally have an open door? Even an hour or two a day can make an impact. It lets your employees know they matter and in turn leads to further commitment to the cause. I would like to share an analogy with you that I heard at a conference with our broker, One Digital. It was a race car analogy when discussing how to create a high-performing worker. The concept was, invest in your employees to produce the highest performers. A common complaint was not having the time or money to do so. The response that this company gave stood out to me. I want you to think of a race car. Its purpose is to go out and win the race. It is designed to obtain high speeds, make the tight turns, and withstand the pressure of a 500-lap race. What would happen to this car if you never added fuel? Would it go? No, it would eventually stall out and not drive. What would happen if you never had maintenance done on the car? Would it run as smoothly? No, eventually an issue would arise that would take it out of commission. Employees are the same way. Burnout is caused when no fuel or maintenance is being added. Investing in your employee through financial or emotional needs helps them to take off down that runway, producing higher results and winning the race. It also leads to a return on investment for your property because a productive employee can make your place run smoother, bring in more revenue, create a better customer experience, and so on and so forth. To summarize this presentation, please remember that your employees are humans, not machines. They have needs and they have breaking points. Their needs can go beyond financial. They can also be emotional. The more you invest in your employees, the greater that productivity and return on investment. Like a race car, your employees need to be fueled if they are to progress in their careers and become a high-performing employee. You can add that fuel by investing your time into being a mentor and advocate for them. Thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. I hope what was taught can be applied to your daily lives. If you have any HR questions, I recommend reaching out to an HR consulting firm where you can partner with an HR business partner in order to effectively inspire and motivate your employees. Additionally, attorneys that are specialized within employment law could be a great resource for any questions that you may have. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.